Members and friends of Milden Church. Hello, Tom Coye here. This is Thursday of Holy Week. We've already reviewed the events of Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, but now we are getting into the part of Holy Week that is much more familiar. This is the cycle of events where, starting with the Lord's Supper or the Last Supper, we move into the events of Good Friday, and then Saturday, and then Easter. And so Maundy Thursday itself, and that's what Christendom universally calls this day, Maundy Thursday, and a little bit more on that in a few minutes. On Thursday, Matthew, Mark, and Luke have Jesus gathering his disciples in an upper room, and there they are engaged in what must have been the Jewish Seder, Seder, the Seder, which is a traditional meal practiced by the Jews and has been done for at least 2,000 years, where Jews gather in homes everywhere and they go through an ordered kind of liturgy, especially with symbolic foods and set words. And it's a rehearsal of the story of Judaism and how God has watched out for them and protected them and is their hope and their future. It's a very lovely experience. I've been through it several times, and it is a very affirming kind of exercise. Well, Jesus perhaps is having a Seder with his disciples, and of course, he deviates from the script at a couple of points. There are several times when bread is broken, and he breaks the bread at one point and said, instead of what's in the script, he says, "This is my body, which is broken for you." Wine is poured at several points as well, and again, at one point, Jesus deviates from the script and says, "This cup is the new covenant in my blood." During the meal, there is the singling out of one who is to betray, and Judas gets up and leaves. John has a different kind of take on the night before Good Friday. John has a meal, but actually it's more focused on the foot washing, where Jesus gets up and kneels down and washes the feet of all of his disciples. Peter objects, but Jesus convinces him that it's important. And he finishes by saying, "Do you know what I have done to you?" Again, there is the singling out of the betrayer. Jesus has a number of chapters of discourse in the Gospel of John. And then the stories reconvene in all four Gospels with the conclusion of the evening at table. And then they go to the Garden of Gethsemane. And there Jesus prays, and in an agony at one point, uh, very distressed because he does not want to die. He's very human. It's tempted in a way to say, "Lord, let this cup pass from me," which is, "God, can you let me off the hook? I don't want to go through with this." It's reminiscent of his temptations in the wilderness, where he was tempted to feed himself, where he was tempted to seize power, where he was tempted to test God. In all three cases, he resisted the temptation and affirmed once again that God was primary. Same thing here. "Lord, let me off the hook, please." But in the end, he said, "Nevertheless, not what I will, but what you will." And shortly after that comes the crowd being chief priests, temple police, and disciple Judas. And Jesus is arrested with Judas singling out Jesus in a couple of the Gospels with a kiss. There is, of course, more to the evening, but that is for Friday. That is for tomorrow. I'd just like to reflect for a moment on the name Maundy Thursday, why this particular Thursday is called that. Maundy comes from the Latin word mandatum, or mandate, as we say in English, because it's an evening of several commands. In John, Jesus has the command, uh, you should wash one another's feet. And a little bit later, he says, love, a new commandment I give you, love one another. As I have loved you, you should love one another. In the Matthew, Mark, and Luke, where it's at the meal, and he breaks the bread, he says, this is my body, which is broken for you. Do this, remembering me. There's a command there. Do this. Same thing with the cup. This cup is my blood shed for you. Do this, remembering me. There are mandates all throughout that evening to love one another, to wash one another's feet, and to break the bread and drink the cup in memory of Jesus. And this practice especially has been with us ever since. Whenever we have communion, we do remember. We do break the bread. We do pour the cup in memory of our Lord. I'd like to conclude with one thought for today and a challenge perhaps for us to think about. When Jesus washed the disciples' feet, he said, do you know what I have done to you? At the conclusion of the experience. That's a haunting question. What did he do for the disciples? And, we are his disciples. We're really there. He has really washed our feet. What did he do to us? What did he do? Think about that as you go through this day and as you reflect on the events of Maundy, Thursday night, the foot washing, the meal, the Garden of Gethsemane, and the arrest. That's all for today. Take care and God bless.